Previously on Down the Rabbit Hole podcast with Omar and Gwen.
So last night, I felt very inclined to speak to Omar today, and we knew we were recording, but I asked him, like, hey, were you tired? Like, out of nowhere, like, hey, did you wake up, like, tired this morning? He's like, yeah. So I was telling him that I believe that we were dreaming together. This is the epiphany of, like, with Alice and the White Rabbit. So here we are, like, walking through, and you pull me into some store I can't even remember, and you tell me that you are walking into this specific store because the last time that you were here, you had a very nice and intriguing conversation with some beautiful ginger that was working there.
To segue into our topic right now is astral travel. And the best way I could put it was that, like, when I had woken up, I don't know, perhaps the way that I would describe this feeling is when I'm astral traveling, I tend to, not that, like, I want to go back to sleep. I've already gotten enough rest, but there's this feeling that, like, no, I still need to go back there. I need to stay there. I want to go there. I don't want to come back yet. Speaking of, like, psychic attack, like, again, like, it's the reason why folks, like, put wards in their house, because sometimes when you astral travel, you can get to a place where you're like, do I remember how to get there in my car? And if you remember how to get to that place in your car, all you got to do is pretend you're driving that car to that place, and you're driving up there, you're going up to the door, opening up the door, you're doing things, you're seeing what's around, and you get familiar with the place.
I like
It's
how this
scary.
is turning into it, dude. It is, but I like how this is kind of like being like experiences / educational at the same time. Like,
yeah, I mean, again, like, there's one thing that I've heard a lot on our retreat was, before you learn how to heal, you must learn how to hurt, and you must be aware of the double-edged sword that can cut you or cut other ways. And that's why it's important to protect yourself. And also, I mean, I don't know, I think about the way I astral travel, and I'm like, I'm not saying it's, like, good for everybody to do, because I'm sort of, like, open and gung-ho about a lot of shit that, like, even my friends are like, how do you do that? Or, like, even my boyfriend tells me, like, why? Like, why do you do that? Or why do you, like, jump from one to adventurous mode to, like, doing all the things? And I'm like, listen, like, in this life, I have realized that there is the physical body, but then there's also that spirit realm that you can also escape to. And to be honest, like, I get why people want to be in that realm, because in that realm, it's peaceful. It is so much fun. It is so restorative that when you have to come back to Earth, you're like, life is waiting for me there. But again, the reason why we astral travel is to make sense of our current life and our current, like, physical plane, to make sense of those higher concepts. Because sometimes we can, like, download these, like, really big keys to our lives, or spiritually, but if we're not, like, as grounded as we are on this physical realm, we're not able to, like, understand. It's like sort of like reading a book, and you're like, okay, I read it, but, like, I have to reread it because I didn't understand it the first time, and you read it over and over and over again. But again, like, we are human living a spiritual experience, and since this is not our first time here on Earth, we have to give ourselves kind of a reminder of, what are we doing? What am I doing? Am I taking care of myself? Am I grounded? Did I eat before? Because also, it is, although it might be fun to meditate while you're on a, let's just say you've been smoking, or if you've been, already in an altered state of mind, you're not going to be able to reach it, because again, you're already hazy as it is. Yeah. Or sometimes what I've experienced, I also have given someone asked me and begged me to give them a reading while I was kind of buzzed. And I was like, are you sure? She said, please, I want you to just tell me the truth. And I'm like, all right, let's go there. Read the card. She's like, oh my God, why did you say that? Like, you wanted to be open, right? And I find that since I have Jupiter in my 12th house, which is the astral travel realm house, you know what I mean? I tend to see it as a very jovial pursuit, and not everybody will have the same experience because my Jupiter's in Leo. It's in the 12th house. I'm like, oh, great. And also, I've been told that having a 12th house Jupiter is a guardian angel aspect where there's like protection whenever I do visit those realms.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I know myself to be a little like Alice, where I'm like, shit, I don't know how to get back. Oh no. And then again,
Yeah.
like you have sleep paralysis or something that you're like, get me out of this state. I can't get out. I can't get out. I remember once, like, I was in that state of mind and I kept calling after you. And I was like, Gwen, oh my God, Gwen, where are you? I miss you. It was that one dream I had with the 3.
Yeah. And it's funny, we're on that same wavelength because you brought up sleep paralysis. I've only had it maybe twice, and it is very scary. But the second time I had it, it's been several months ago, but it was really more so of like a dream, like with my mother. But that's kind of like, it's like how she's just like, I'm gonna grab your attention, you know. Not to the point that it's gonna like scare like the crap out of me, but like the more that I thought about it, the more I understood as the reason why. Um and at that point it's kind of like you really and at that point in my life it was like, well, it's like I know I can't escape this. So there's no reason to, so hence I had the sleep paralysis. But yeah, it's a very scary thing. I mean, even just looking over at my husband, because it's kind of like you can see the person there and knowing that they're asleep next to you and you're trying to call out, but then nothing comes out. It's kind of like, what do I do? You know? But yeah, I love, I mean, granted, we all know I'm all about the synchronicities. I love those types of things, and like the meetings and paying attention, because I've had some, I mean, I've had scorpions in dreams with pendulums, you know, as tails. I told Omar about this one time, and a couple other friends about it. But you know, again, really paying attention down to the details. And I do appreciate a friend being like, if you can remember, again, why it's so important, this would technically be considered as dream work. So if you are recalling things back, if you do a dream recall, you're setting the intention, you go back and being like, I need to know more. So if you write the stuff down, it's easier for you to recall the certain things, as far as like, is it sunny or rainy outside? What colors are the walls? Who is there? What is the outfit you're wearing? What's the color shirt this other person's wearing? Is there stuff on the table or not on the table? You know, so that way you can kind of go in and try to like figure out like certain meanings and doing the work in there. But yeah, a lot of my subconscious likes to come in and try to help like process, but the deja vu, like that gives me something to ponder about, like as far as, am I traveling backwards or forwards, and am I able to change it? I don't know. I have no clue. No clue.
Whenever I get a place where I don't know, we had spoken earlier about how in my personal life, I've been running into people of my past, and I'm just like, did I access you?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Because, and I'm gonna tell the viewers, I'm gonna tell you this, that like it wasn't like, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, before we had met in person, that I was like thinking of aspects of my life and my past and people that I've met. And I don't remember if you remember that I told you this, but I asked you, do you ever like think of people that you were once close to and think like how how are they doing? Like, are they okay now? Did they get everything they wanted? Or even if you guys aren't, the best speaking terms or not, like, it's still like that, I guess, wondering of like, again, this is Cancer season, so I was nostalgic, okay?
And you're like, did they get everything they wanted? And I'm like, or did they get what was coming to them? Like,
oh, I mean, true. Nonetheless, I still wish everyone well, but even then, it's like,
yeah,
don't sit here. But
I love that.
Don't sit near me. Like, I don't. But then again, like with every single person that you meet in life, you want, if you can't wish best for them, how can you will it for yourself? So that's, I guess, my stance on it. But I mean, going back to the dream sort of nostalgia, I was thinking about particular people, and lo and behold, they've come into my life, and I'm like, I know that I did not manifest this, because again, they came to me. I did not look for them. They came to me.
Yeah.
So I think about like that astral travel aspect of like, be careful of who you're thinking of, or be careful who you're trying to communicate with, or trying to subconsciously download information on, because you just might get it, because what you seek will also seek you. And eventually, when you get to that place, what do? Because you conjured it yourself. You conjured that information. You conjure that person. Even on a subconscious level, we do it, you know?
Oh, yeah. There was the other point, like you said, on the subconscious level, when we're calling out, and you had brought up, like, when you heard Susie in sleep, your camera froze up. So
she knew she was here. She was like, huh, what?
She's like, hi. I'm gonna do something in the playback. I'll tell you if I thought I saw what I saw. But anyway, but I have gotten into kind of like in that very relaxed state. Maybe I'm still kind of like on my phone, put the blue screen on or something, but I'm like doing something or reading, and I get to that point where I'm kind of like fighting sleep. I have heard like messages trying to come through, from certain dimensions of some sort, or spirits, or whoever it is, because I mean, I look at them and like as if it's a different dimension or a certain portal. It's just, again, when we talk about the veil being so thin, so even though I can't see it, or you can't see it, or we can't see it, I mean, it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily there. But I know there have been times where I've been on lack of sleep, and whatever wavelength of certain things are going off. I mean, I saw hands come out in my bedroom, and it scared the crap out of me. And it was just like, oh, like, okay, never mind. Like, she's not ready, So I associated it with, maybe it was like, maybe like an apparition that was trying to show themselves, and someone had said it was a portal, and I was like, portal? But it makes sense. It's different dimensions. Energies are still there. Spirits are still kind of floating around. I mean, granted, like, again, things are so different, and I kind of feel like the way the energies are hanging on, this is like totally like going left field, but again, what is left field anyway? But I do feel like they do try to get to us on this plane how they can, and some of us can see, some of us not, some can hear, some cannot. But as long as we're willing to accept it, and and being open to the idea, then yeah, they'll keep trying, So it doesn't mean that the dimension is not there. And time and space is very linear and very human. We created that. That does not necessarily mean that's what they have. They don't follow any timeline. They don't follow any time and space. So the truth is out there.
But when I think about it, I suppose the reason why I'm so energetically sensitive to it's quiet in my space right now. It's really quiet. And even when I'm sleeping, the moment I feel something is around. Did I hear that? Did you hear that? What? No, I didn't hear anything. I'm like, oh, because I heard that. But someone's in here. I have had these experiences ever since I was like 6, where I wasn't sure if, like, again, when you're a young child, you tend to suppress, rather, adults tend to suppress these imaginary, like, experiences that you're having and try to, like, not necessarily like devalue them, but sort of like tell you like, oh, come, you can't tell that to people, because if you do, you're going to sound a little not okay. So they tell you these things just so that you can forget about it. But I never did. Like, where I grew up, it was, even to this day, they can't hold a single tenant in that space because they leave. And I grew up there. I spent from like 5 to like 15 in that complex when I was growing up. And even now, I remember right before we were supposed to go, I was sleeping and I had felt someone like physically shake me and wake me up. And I was like woken up and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And that was the closest thing that so physically like close to like in those in between like dimensions that I was able to like, was I shaking or was someone trying to shake me? Because again, I mean, even you had noticed when I was sleeping over at Kelly's, like, y'all do whatever you guys need to do. I'm gonna go back to bed. I'm gonna ignore you. But even though like I'm still sleeping, I felt like I could still understand what was going on, even though I was like, yeah, no, I'm going back to Dreamland. I don't want to be here because that requires me to get up and like start my day, and I didn't want to. But even then, I was like, no, we're staying in this dream world, because again, I don't want to fucking like, I guess, realize that all of the fucking like things I had experienced on a physical level were to be true, or like again, like even when you're coming out of like the broom closet, becoming a lot more magical or being a lot more consciously aware of these things or these beings, like you kind of have to have a talk with yourself and tell yourself like, hey, things happen even in your dreams that can follow you here. Or at the same time, who are you talking to? Who was I talking to when I was in that dream world? And why were they shaking me? Be careful. I mean, even as a child, it's like you don't have conscious awareness as to what you're doing or how you're traveling. But I guess I was doing it then to the extent of like, no, someone's here. Like someone's in here. Someone's here. Like I've known it to be true. Someone's here. And I can't believe I'm making the realization that perhaps it was Susie. I don't know. Because I would always talk about this woman that was in the room, like there's a woman here, there's someone here. And like, I think it was Susie. But again, like,
definitely could have been. Yeah. I don't disagree.
Which is why it's important to like be quite aware as to how you're doing it and why you're doing it, and having setting up yourself for a successful trip and not necessarily like a bad one, because sometimes when you become a lot more adventurous, you may not be aware of the other beings out there to the point where they might scare you, and that's where all those things come from. Because what I've come to gather from information, I guess even through like, you know, psychedelic travel or whatever, is that you set your own thermostat as to what you're going into. And if you're feeling like at a very low frequency, trust and believe that things will come your way, or you're not going to have the best sleep, or you might even have like these like bouts of like nightmares, because again, like, why are you thinking about those things? Why are you going there?
Yeah. No, I agree. Which I guess kind of goes back to the term of like making sure you might have like 2 feet on the ground, having both feet on the ground. Grounding is so important. For me, the way I look at it and resonate with it, only because it's like when you are playing like on that realm so much, or giving it the attention or working with it, sometimes I do kind of feel like I'm just floating along. But you kind of have to like, I guess that's kind of like where the hooves of the Capricorn come in. They have to be in the dirt, you know, but it's in order to make sure you don't float off so far. Because I do kind of feel like if you keep playing around in that area, it can definitely get very touch and go. It can get very touch and go, very touch and go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
I love dream analysis, learning more so about like lucid dreams, how to get there, astral travel, like, yeah, just all of that
I'm
stuff.
pretty sure we've done it like multiple times. I know that we have. It's just perhaps only, I think it's fascinating that you took me to a place that you knew and that you were comfortable with. And I was like, oh, okay, I've been here, but okay. Again, it's always, you're always taking yourself to places that you're comfortable in to be in as your lift off, I suppose, sometimes. But sometimes I know myself and I know like, well, how about I fucking venture off into a place or a dimension or somewhere I've never been before, and let's see what happens there. And then like I know that I get a little bit too adventurous where I'm like, oh no, fuck. I can't like lucid dream to the point where I'm like breaking out of the matrix and like doing the things because you're just like, oh, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Because
Do
other
you
light beings, because
go
other
ahead?
light beings, no, because I feel like other light beings can deny access because you're not ready yet.
Oh yeah. I can agree with that. It's kind of like he's like you could be standing there in front of the gate and then be like, he cannot come in. Well, why?
Mm-hmm.
He is not ready. And it's like, we'll try again later, you know? Because I was gonna ask you, and I'm glad that you said that with like the light beings, whether they're angelic or whatever we deem them to be, or fae, like we talked about last time. Do you feel like really more so that is astral projecting in the different dimensions, and the lucid dreamings is a different portal altogether? How do you differentiate the two? Or do you look at them as the same thing? Because quite honestly, I have no clue. I mean, I could look that up now.
It's like you said, a mall that has different levels to it, right?
Yes.
And depending on the different levels that you have mastered or been around for some time, you find an elevator. It's sort of like Inception, where it's a dream within a dream
Yes.
within a dream within a dream, and you're like, well, how did we get here? We got here through here, but it doesn't make sense, and that's not supposed to, because in that realm nothing makes sense. Words don't mean anything. Words don't mean anything at all. And if you think that, I mean, again, sometimes some of us sleep talk or talk in our sleep or yell in our sleep or do all these different things, but the way I see it is that when we're communicating with all these other things, it's really emotionally, it's sort of the way I see like aliens and how I would talk to a extraterrestrial, a light being, etc., etc. It's all by just thinking the thought and sending it forward. We're not talking, we're just thinking things, and I guess you could say it's telepathy, but it's just that. And sometimes when you reach the escalator, you're like, all right, it's not even an escalator, it's just a portal, and you just jump through the portal and then you get to the second level of the mall. The second level of the mall is a little different. There are different rules there, the different things you can do, you can't do. And sometimes when you talk to your guides, when they're with you, like, they'll protect you and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes, like, you need your guides to talk to those other light beings so they can be a sort of like interpreter or like a middleman sort of thing, you know, situation where you can be able to I guess access the information as to whether or not you're allowed to enter, or whether or not you've opened your mind, or your third eye is open enough to be able to access those planes. Because again, like, what I've collectively come to understand is that when one takes DMT, I've never tried, but when one takes DMT, you're supposed to lift off, and there is a door or portal that other light beings allow you to come, but they either invite you, or either there are jesters or other things that are scaring you so that you don't want to go in there. But it really takes one's courage and one's like ability to be so open to oddities or wonderland to be able to go in there. It's sort of like going to, like, you know, like Hollywood Horror Nights at like Universal Studios or some sort of maze. Like, you must be this tall to come inside, or you must be this age to enter, because if you're not, then you're not going to be able to handle anything that's out there. You're not going to be able to handle all these flashes of insights, all these downloads. And then that's where like the dark night of the soul comes in. We're like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh my god. Ow.
No, it's funny you were talking about DMT, because that's actually like what I've been looking at is as far as like the decalcifying of the pineal gland, right? And so I did read like in an article somewhere that as far as like we do produce the DMT, but it happens, I guess, like when we're in that state of the body can produce some of it, sometimes in the sleeping state, but it's more so of like when we're trying to figure things out when we're younger, because again, like our pineal gland isn't like concentrated with all the other stuff as we grow older. Okay. So then the next time that it comes back around is actually about when we are about to pass, as in this human vessel and body. So I find that very fascinating, again, when I was talking about those different portals or dimensions of that energy, because here are the loved ones that are coming to get you on your soul release from this vessel, and you're going home, wherever that's going to be. But you're seeing them. And I mean, my dad, my brother and I, our dad passed away back in 2007. And so, you know, seeing, you know, a person that's going through those responses of like seeing things and like, and who's that over there, and seeing things like play like on a television that's not even on, you know, it's kind of like surreal to like know, but I do know it's like they are in between the dimensions, or like the realms, or however you want to call it, because they're getting ready to go in that other area where there's no time or space. So I do find that like very fascinating. That's where we want to play. But
to piggyback on what you were saying, like, again, my interaction with the Fae that one time where I was like, wait, how did you guys get in here? They're like, it doesn't matter, go outside, look into the sky. Sometimes you are able to, I mean, without the help of other substances or, you know, so on and so forth, that sometimes, again, you are also so open to the idea, or not even idea, just so open in general, that things sort of shift.
Yeah.
Or like, again, the more that you are grounded and the more that you are consciously aware, or at the same time, the more that you're even like open to receiving different things is an indication as to how far you can travel and how far you can't travel. I mean, I don't know so much about the scientific explanations of comas, but like,
Yeah.
who's to say they're not fucking trying to get out
Yeah.
and negotiate, or just trying to like, all right, go back, but they're just like, I don't want to get out of here. I'm still alive, but they're still connected to some sort of etheric, cord, so to speak. You know what I mean? But who's to say that, like, again, like, even folks that are in a comatose state, they can still hear people on this realm, on the physical, but at the same time, what happens when they come back? What happens, like, because again, you're in a coma, you're sleeping throughout the whole time. Actually, I knew someone, my boss actually told me of someone that she knew that came back to work, and she was in a coma for 2 years, and she woke up during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Think about that. I think, did you know this was going to happen in a way? Or how do you feel coming back to Earth, absorbing like all the information that's happening while you were gone traveling? You know what I mean? And what sort of information did you pick up on, or did you find some sort of like answers to what you were seeking while you were there? I don't know.
And if she had access to know what was going to happen or change when she would wake up before all this happened, because coming out of the coma during the pandemic, like, think about it. Everybody cannot really be around anybody. And so I can only imagine, like, again, never been in a coma, wouldn't know. Not that I would like to be in one, but I can only imagine with the empathy that I do have, it's like trying to relearn a lot of things, going back out into society again, being exposed to different environments again. Things might be too loud, things just might seem so new, and it's like you can't get your brain to kind of like catch up because it's just overly stimulated by everything if it's been shut off, like, you've been asleep for 2 years. Okay? So it's kind of like, well, if she knew she was going to wake up at that time, it's like, well, there's not really going to be a whole lot going on. We're all going to have to stay away from each other, and at least it's kind of like slowed down a bit to maybe like come back to like in a not so overly stressful way. The time traveler. I'm just saying, but yeah.
I mean, girl, I wish I had the ability to time travel and not feel exhausted, but traveling and astral travel in general can, I mean, again, like whenever I meditate, it's restorative. So I'm like, oh, I guess I need to take a nap. I just needed to like blank out for that bit and I'm fine. But sometimes it can get a little tricky as to like, oh shit. Back here again. Didn't want to come back here, but because it's so much fun up there.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of like if you know like the stages of what to expect. So I mean, I know I asked you like the two things of how you look at them or how you interpret. But either way, I kind of feel like they all kind of like connect somehow, depending on what phase that you're in, or you hit another level, like you said. So you have the astral projecting and travel. You just know that it's an outer body experience. We are amongst the light beings. But maybe the lucid dream is the before, because knowing that the lucid dream is that I am aware that I am dreaming, but are you really dreaming? I can go anywhere. Then you're astral traveling. And to go back to the sleep paralysis, because I had seen some videos when people were talking about that as far as like astral projecting, they do go through some form of sleep paralysis of where they can't move. And so they know that they're in the room, they know that they're in their body, but they're looking around the room, things look a little bit different, I guess. But but if they get outside and they see that they're sleeping, they're like, okay, my vessel's there, so I'm gonna wander off for a minute, maybe have like some sort of like cord that you know that you're gonna sleep with, so you can get back when you travel. But yeah, that's what a lot of people get so spazzed out from the sleep paralysis, they don't make it to the next phase of the astral projection
Mm,
of the outer body experience because it freaks them out so much. So
hmm
I have heard and I have read, it's like you may experience that because when you do see like, oh my goodness, I'm outside of my body, like it's gonna freak somebody out, you know, and you're trying to go back in, or you don't even like get out of your body because you just can't move, but it's kind of like your soul's kind of like, come on with the release, you know, but yeah, I yeah, yeah.
No, keep going. I was listening to you. I was like, keep going. Yeah, no, I'm eating this
No,
up
but
and gobbling.
I mean, that makes sense to me. It's like you have the sleep paralysis, which can be very scary, but a lot of people associate that before they're astral projecting. So if you are able to get outside of the body, then you are able to astral travel. You know, you're going out, and then yeah, you're just going and traveling everywhere. But
Mhm.
knowing in the sense that you know that this is a dream and knowing that you can kind of control things as you're traveling through. But I guess where it kind of like breaks with me is like knowing of when you get there, again, talking about controlling things, right? So it's like, do you know if you're going to make a change in something of where you are, knowing if it really is a dream or something you're working through, or are you really changing some sort of aspect somewhere that it's going to affect you when you get back?
Mm,
He's like, man.
well, no, I mean, again, like when I go there, I don't have, I go there with the intent of knowing that
Oh,
I
yeah.
have unlimited amount of time, but that's not the reality
Yeah.
because your body has had enough rest. So it's like, your time's up, come back. You need to come back now. And sometimes one can sleep for like past a certain amount of time, and you're like, did I really sleep for that long? And I think about it as like, one, my body was tired, which allowed me to be there longer, which I love because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, hey. But then I also remember that my earthly responsibilities are back here, and I'm like, I lost time. But up there, you're like, oh no, I don't want to leave because over here it's unlimited. It's so freeing as to places you can go or things that you can experience. And not only is it so limitless and so freeing, it's also very, it gives you a taste of, I suppose, what the infinite really is. You know what I mean? Because when
Mhm.
you return to the infinite, you have all the time in the world to do these absurd things that you never thought you could do. And there's not much sadness up there because in reality, all of the astral baggage is down here.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
suppose the reason why we're supposed that not the reason we're supposed to, I think this is a responsibility for everyone's individual spiritual path, but to like lessen the astral baggage every single day so that when you do go up there, it's a lot less frightening. It's a lot less I guess there's less opportunities for you to run into sleep paralysis or not being
Yeah.
ready, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, and I guess kind of like what my other point I was kind of bringing into like when we started earlier in the topic, but like for some that do know how to travel. Probably going to title this the time traveler, like astral projection and lucid dreaming and dreams. but but yeah, but I mean, whoever, not that I'm asking because I don't want to be left with the keys to the kingdom, but like again, there are people who have keys to the kingdom, especially in the magical community, who do know how to bend. They do know how to get to those or access to those different dimensions, places, excess amount of time. But it's like if you do have those keys to the kingdom, what do you do with it? Are you just going to observe, learn, and hang out, like you said, and respect it? Or are you going in to change something that is going to bring in
Effective.
said deja vu? Or did you mean to be here? Or did you change that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to gives another reason to experiment and see if one can bend their own timeline to what is feeding to what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But again, everyone's individual magical practice is up to them, and everyone's spell work is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The possibilities are endless, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
Again, it always comes back to intent, right? It's neither
Yeah.
good, it's bad. It's a tool to have a better, I mean, again, with every tool, like with tarot, astrology,
Yes.
it's just a tool to better understand oneself and others so that you can keep rising and being able to access those planes. But again, there's good people and there's bad people. There's people that use all these things and abuse it. Sometimes I need a break from all that astral travel because I can't do it all the time. I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, like, you know, like life happens. You have to be up all the time. You got to meet this person. You got to go there. You got to go to work. You got to do this thing. You don't have much time to like go there. But when I do, it's like, oh, wow. I'm so glad I actually decided to do that because I feel a lot more clarity. But again, that's why every single time I have a reading, I always tend to want to go there just so that I can ease myself and have an understanding of source, of spirit, or if, you know, I guess to even not maintain, but to be able to have those, like, even if the doors aren't completely open, there is that little bit of like, it's not closed, but it's the little bit open where you can be like, this is telling me no, but again, do whatever you want with whatever the person is trying to ask for. But again, I find that I open up my channels a lot better when I meditate before, and I feel as free and infinite as possible. But every single time I do so, I put a time limit because I know if I spend time there, it's like my astral self, not my physical self, is like, leave planet Earth for a bit and just do this for you. And I'm like, I don't want to do that though. I have things to do back here. So you keep having to, you know, keep going in between time zones of like, all right, you got like a certain amount of time here. And when you wake up, you got things to do. So what primary purpose are you using this astral travel for?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, even without you even knowing it, your body wakes up. Or you get out of your trance like state and you're like, you open your eyes and you're like, oh darn.
You put it nicer than I did when I wake up. Like, I
mean,
I'm kidding. I love my life. I love my life.
I'm not upset. It's just that when you're there, it's again like it's a dream within a dream, and there's oddities, there's absurd things of how was I able to fly, or how did I drive that car? And again, nothing makes sense there because to us, it's supposed to make sense because everything has a scientific reason as to why this is doing the way it is doing. And we all have a scientific, you know, explanation as to why the sun rises every day and the moon sets and all these different things as to like, oh, that's the reason why the leaves turn, you know, certain color during fall. But when you're there, those things that the reason you can't take up there, because the moment you do, you're setting yourself up for like sleep paralysis. Oh my God, I'm scared. I don't know what the fuck I just did. What am I doing? Is this a nightmare? How was I able to like break out of the matrix and actually play this like a video game?
Yeah.
And even that is hard for some people to adjust, to be like, am I doing this right now? Oh no, this got way too intense for me. I want out of here.
Yeah, like not having the movie Insidious moment, like with the kid like actually leaving his body and traveling too, you know, and trying to find a way to get back. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's like, Omar's like, no.
I mean, I've been there. It's just, There's a reason I find that like I prefer to sleep if I'm out with friends and like you can sleep here if you want, like you're retired. I'm like, I'm going home because I can't access those planes here. I can't. I cannot because I don't know how to get myself, I don't know how to find my way home, so to speak, if I were to sleep here. I can't do it here. Nope. Nope. Can't do it. Just can't. I'm not going to get out of it and I'm not going to dream. And I don't dream when I sleep other places that I'm not comfortable with. Because again, I don't know how to find myself back. I don't know how to find myself.
Yeah.
It's scary. But again,
it is.
When your soul gets rest, it can do a lot. It can even, I find that you can even like retrospectively heal certain things in your life that you feel like you're going back to. Because even within astral travel, you can heal that inner child or find them, talk to them, spend time with them there, even in your dream life. And then when you come back, you have done some deep shadow work. Hello, isn't that what we all have to do all the time?
Some may have begged to differ, but yeah, that's definitely the dream work. Again, people can do their magic or, like you said, the shadow work, healing the inner child, and but I've had some really like cool spirit messages that way, like maybe that I was not wanting to look at. Again, the shadow work in real life, but again, there's a lot of good messages and perspective of like when your brain is like not fighting so much, and receiving the messages that do come through and processing. And so
or sometimes you involuntarily travel and you're like, oh, I dreamt of something last night that didn't make sense. And then you look up in your dream dictionary on like Google or something, you're like, oh yes, I was thinking about this thing. I am feeling these things. And your body just does it to let you know, hey, there's some things you've got to address because you won't be able to have access up there or higher realms or other concepts if you don't deal. But again, this was our episode on astral travel. I love it. I do it all the time. It is my preferred method of connecting to others through the ether without having to actually be physically close to them, because sometimes we can, and sometimes like even though so, like for instance, like you came across my mind and we traveled last night, so I was like, oh, I miss her. I haven't talked to her this whole week, but I hope she's doing well. And then on a subconscious level, I was like, hey, you want to go somewhere? Because like Earth is not fun where I am at.
Well, and then even then, like I was saying, like those energy attachments. So again, like Omar, we built this relationship online, we met in person. And then, I mean, there's still that tether, the energetic cord there. And there's times where I have called you and you're like, oh, perfect timing. And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, it's again, the subconscious, which I do find interesting that we do process a lot in the dream state, but then it's kind of like you said, the mind being such, I guess it would be termed as the key, because we have the keys to unlock the kingdom. But yeah, it's so powerful. And so like if you don't even think you are calling out to someone, maybe you are, and they might call you and say perfect timing.
I agree. Agreed. Because every single time you call, I'm like, I was just thinking of you today. How did you know?
Same.
It's like, it was lined up to be this way. We didn't have to do anything. That's why sometimes, like, again, like I had, like, just the way you travel, you're like, I'm gonna flow through it because I don't know. Let's see.
I just showed up for the party and I'm down to play. But if I need to go home, I need to go home.
She's gonna click her heels 3 times. She's like, goodbye, I gotta go.
Yeah. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. But yeah, so we agree. Meditations, I think meditation's super important for the astral travel or any dream work that you're doing. And again, everybody does know that. I talked about how important it is for having a dream journal, whether if it's working with dream work, where you go, writing things down for what you can remember. Do you have anything else that you want to add, like as far as like anyone else or anything else on
Well,
this topic?
if anyone's interested in having an enriching and adventurous dream life, and I'm not just saying like, oh, I'm just gonna go to sleep and expect to dream. You know what I mean? Like, always have the intent of writing everything that you have encountered through your travels and go back a couple months, 3 months from now, and see how, and or even like within the moment, or you don't even have to Google it in the moment. Like, just write them down, experiences, what you saw, what you felt, how it went down, how long you were sleeping for, so on and so forth, and then circle back to it and look these things up and think about the things that you were feeling in that particular month or that week, and see how the dots connect, and also see if you do experience any deja vus, because in the end, like, you have a lot of data that you have written down. Some of the things that that the brain can, like memories, or like just things that they can like hold in we can only absorb, like, I think, what is it, like a certain amount of percentage of, like, maybe 20%, but the 80% is unused. Like, for instance, what if you were to write every single thing down, and you had a log, and then you went and gave yourself time to like deconstruct, analyze all of these experiences and all of these dreams and see what they tell you? And also notice, or even write down, like, an instance where, oh, I thought about this person right before I went to bed, and they called me the next morning, and keep doing that and using that as a muscle to exercise to see what comes up. Because again, everyone does things a little differently. I do things a little differently than Gwen does, and so on and so forth, like vice versa. But even then, like, it's everyone's individual astral experience as to make sense of it all, but sometimes know that, like, it's not supposed to make sense, because again, in that realm, nothing makes sense. It's truly wonderland. You don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get lost and you're like, I want to come back home. Sleep paralysis.
It's like, it's just flailing.
We had a dead end. We gotta go.
Yeah. But yeah, or even if any, I don't even know. No, but oh, and also, like, I'm sure but if somebody's experiencing that it's new, if you feel like you're just floating along too much, I was gonna pull this, but hopefully the other thing won't fall. Yeah. Witch's Ladder. Miss lovely Anne, she gifted this, but I have heard that used before, like if you need something that's kind of like your safety, like if you're going to be traveling, at least it's a cord that that is yours to take with you, to can write things down, know that you are dreaming, doing the dream work, that kind of thing. But yeah, but if anybody has anything to add, share, comment, experience.
The only thing I have to add is get yourself a cord just like that, or get yourself a dream catcher, because again, the indigenous people did not fucking make those up for no reason.
Yeah, I'll take pictures and I'll post it, but yeah, I have two, like, over here on the side of my bed with my lovely indigenous Indian lady. Yeah, so.
Well, I think that concludes our episode.
I think that concludes, my love. Yeah, but we should still plan on Zoom dates if we're not recording. You'd be like,
oh no,
I know.
Like, on the phone is different. It's always like, oh wow, I can see your face. Like,
Yeah.
It's a live reaction. We are living in the future. Why are we taking, full? Why aren't we taking
full advantage?
The opportunity? Yeah, full advantage of the opportunity to jump to the future this way.
Because I think it's because we're such old souls that we like things the old way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm down. I'm down. Why don't the old souls try to play with the new technology and listen to the rap music and the doodah? And
We can just stay anachronistic and stay in the past, because to be honest, viewers, we don't even text. We just call.
Yeah. It's very rare on occasion that we text. Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. So just FYI, it's not that we're like ignoring you. We just don't text.
No.
We're not big texters. I try.
I think it has to do with our Gemini placements to feel like I need to talk it out, because if I don't talk it out, then it's not going to get out. Because how can you, it's like Twitter, how can you condense a feeling in under 140 characters? You can, but like,
mine
that's the problem with Gemini.
Would all be just like exclamation points all over until I ran out of space. That's what you'd see from me on a weekly basis. It'd be like, oh, it's like, oh, but this one has less exclamation points than this one. She must be doing much better this week. Yeah.
But you never, to be honest, you never really use exclamation points. You're very flowy. You use punctuation very well, I do have to say. It makes me happy.
If I get excited, like, yes, if I'm talking to like some of the girls or something and it's like, you know, I want to like show the excitement, I always like add 3. I guess it's like the witch thing. It's like, you know, adding 3. And so it's like, I'm so excited for you. Like 3 exclamation points, you know, but everything's still grammatically correct. It's just like, I want you to feel the excitement I am feeling. But yeah.
Times 3.
Mm-hmm. Times 3.
Times 3. Well, viewers, it was really nice. It was really nice seeing you. We're probably going to talk after we get off this like recording, yes. But nonetheless, thank you guys for watching. Also, if you don't already know, please email us for more suggestions as to what you guys like to listen to or hear about. Because again, our DMs are open, so DM us, please.
Yes.
Please DM us. It's not that our DMs are dry at the moment, but we'd love to hear other perspectives, whether you're pagan or not.
Yes, or anybody that's a beginner or new. Again, no question is a dumb question.
Mm-mm.
See?
Mm-mm.
Or inquiry is, any inquiry is not a dumb inquiry. So
it's the first step.
It's the first step. Is it the first step?
I think it's the first step. I think it's the first step to opening yourself up to things that you could never really be open to begin with, because everything starts with a question. So please ask Alex and the Rabbit at gmail.com.
Yeah, I'll put it down below too. But yeah, it is the first question. First question to Wonderland. Oh, we love you guys.
We love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.